Hey, renter retires, welcome to the show. Thank you so much for joining us today. Today, we're going to delve a little bit more into one of the markets that we're seeing make a whole lot of sense, and it's been making sense for quite a while. We're joined today by Steve. How you doing, Steve?
Doing great. Thanks for having me, Adam.
Absolutely, pleasure to have you on. So, how long have you been working in real estate?
For about 10 years now, 9 years, 9 to 10. So
Okay, and right now you're doing fix and flips and bringing them to the network, correct? Or
yeah, so right now I'm doing fix and flips. I also hold some multifamily apartment buildings as well, and I still hold some single families and things like that. But I've been actively buying for 9 to 10 years now. Prior to that, I was just kind of like helping out in rehabs and being a laborer and just kind of learning, as much as I possibly could at that point.
Okay. Yeah. So one of the you working in construction is kind of on the young side there because you saw how many people during the Great Recession ran away from the construction world. So good to see some young blood in there.
Yeah, so it was just kind of by accident. One of my good friends' dads did rental property stuff, and I was just helping him turn units and handyman stuff and just fix up things. And just saw that, hey, owning property is the way to go. That was kind of like at 16 years old, I was helping him out. So I knew as soon as I graduated college, first thing I was going to do is buy a duplex and live in one side and fix up everything, right?
Yep. Early house hack. There you go.
Yep, exactly what happened at 22, 23.
Awesome. Now you work in the Akron area and the surrounding the metro area there. Now I
Yeah.
have to say I'm probably like a whole lot of people who don't live in that area. When I think of Akron, all I know about it is LeBron James is from there, and that's about the extent of it. And I think of kind of the Ohio winters, and maybe not necessarily the richest place in the world. Tell us a little bit about the Akron market that most people who don't live in the area, don't know.
It's funny you mentioned LeBron. That's my go-to line all the time. I say I went to the other Catholic high school in Akron. So it's humorous you brought that up. So, I mean, Akron's just a hardworking town. A lot of hands-on jobs, factory jobs. The Amazon Center, they knocked over the biggest mall in the I guess Summit County, the county Akron's in, and they built this huge Amazon fulfillment center. So that's bringing in $20 an hour plus jobs, really raising the medium income in the Akron, Barberton, and surrounding cities. Um, it's you got Goodyear. A lot of money's been put in around the Goodyear area, the rubber factory and stuff like that. It's just a lot of hardworking individuals that blue collar type stuff.
Okay, so Goodyear and Amazon are the two big employers there right now.
Yeah, and you got obviously the University of Akron is also another big employer. I would say are two large employers, in the city.
Okay, and now people have been hearing about the housing market since COVID started last year and how it was gonna, crater, and now it's skyrocketing and it's gonna bust. It just depends where in the country you've been, how high appreciation you've seen. So, what is Akron and that area seen? Is it kind of a boom, a bust, a slow rise? What are you seeing?
I would say every few months, I feel like it's like a $10,000 to $15,000 increase in property values. Maybe that's quarterly or whatever, but the rents, the property values are all dramatically increasing. So that's it's a good thing to get in now while it's still increasing before you get to the top. I would say for sure. Yeah, I don't see anything slowing up. I mean, all the prices that are listed on market properties are through the roof. So I mean, the only way to find deals is off market for me, and then renovate them and then resell them through rent to retirement. It's pretty much anything on the MLS or on the market is astronomically priced.
Yeah. Now, one thing I did want to ask is when it comes to owning rental properties in that area, I think of I'm down in Texas. A lot of people are investing in the southeast, and where the weather is not quite as rough. Does How does the weather impact kind of the lifespan of some of the major systems, or is that a concern for investors up in that area?
I mean, I guess I've never invested anywhere else, so I don't know what it would be like anywhere else. I've owned stuff near the water, like Lakewood, huge suburb to the west side of Cleveland, right on the water. I mean, it's just like anything, you got to use the proper materials. If you're doing like anything outside the house or inside the house, you want to make sure you put on shingles that are meant to last winters, and you got to make sure you have your ice and water guard on, and just doing things correctly, will be more than sufficient. Furnace and air conditioning wise, a lot of the markets in Akron really don't call for an AC. It doesn't really. It's not. I mean, you use an AC, but the majority of the time, 9 months out of the year, you can just open your window and it's 70 out.
I don't even remember.
Yeah, less than
I can't
70.
even remember the last time I opened a window in my house. Honestly.
Yeah. No, I mean, like right now it's August and it's 88 out, but tonight it'll be 75 degrees, 65 degrees. You could open your window and, it wouldn't really make a difference. On those hot days, you'll see a lot of AC windows or AC unit windows, which the tenant puts in, 150, $200. They throw one in, it cools down the house just enough to make it through the day. But I mean, once you start getting in September, October, AC is not really a thing. And then turn it back on maybe in June. Sometimes May if you have a hot day, but furnace is the big one. So, I mean, we always make sure roof, furnace, electrical panel have 10 years of life left on them. If they don't have 10 years of life left on them, it's an instant replace. Same with the hot water tank. If it doesn't have 10 years of life left on it, and that's not a mythical 10 years, that's like what the manufacturer says this product's going to last. Yeah, everyone's had the furnace that lasted 50, 60 years. Everyone in Northeast Ohio has seen that furnace or had that furnace or whatever, but I go by whatever the manufacturer says. So the hot water tank, they say it's 15 years. So if it's older than 5 years, put in a new one. I don't care if it's working or not. I put in a new one. The roof, they say you have 25 years on it. So anything past 15, put on a new one. So just try to keep it simple. So I follow that standard every time. If it doesn't have 10 years of life left on it based on the manufacturer, I just replace it.
Yeah. Now, is this area more an owner occupied or primarily renters, or kind of what's the mix that you've seen in that market?
I mean, it goes city by city. It just depends on where you're at area wise. I do a lot of stuff in Barberton, Akron. I'd say like 65, 70% are homeowners in Barberton. Akron, I think, is a little more of a 50-50 mix. Done some stuff in like Cuyahoga Falls where it's like a 90% homeowner occupancy rate. Did some stuff in a real small area right outside of Akron called Rittman. That's probably like 95% owner occupied. It's really all it is. There's a few apartments there, a small little town, but a lot of owner occupied. And I think that helps bring in a little better tenant sometimes that, if they're in a neighborhood where it's not all, run down with everyone being a rental property. And if it's more homeowners all around, they kind of take care of the property, at least on the outside, a little better, I always find.
Yeah. Now, you just in several neighborhoods that you've worked in. Can you take us through a little bit of the markets that you're in, kind of what, maybe not necessarily, well, kind of grading the neighborhoods about kind of when you're in, if you see a home from you in Akron versus Barberton, kind of what neighborhoods are you looking for? Are we talking mostly like B plus? Are we talking C plus? C minus? Kind of what are you
range? I don't like to get into rougher areas. I guess you can maybe say they're a C plus or, a B. You're just kind of splitting hairs. If I don't feel safe driving there or being in that area at night, it's somewhere I don't buy, just because you're gonna have tools at the property. You don't want any vandalism happening to your new property. So I shy in the sense that, hey, if it's not an area I'm comfortable being in at night, I won't buy there.
Yeah.
So that's the standard I go by. If there's a bunch of boarded up houses on the street, I just don't buy it. It's just not somewhere you want to be when you're checking in on your property, or your guys have tools there, or you're trying to get someone to move in and every house is boarded up on the street. No one wants to pay a premium rent, even if it is a premium product,
Yeah, absolutely. Now, and what price points are you generally operating in there?
So Akron area varies greatly. So I mean, the turnkey property will be anywhere from like 120 to about 240, depending on the rents and the area that you're in inside the city. There's some trending areas where a lot of gentrification's happening. That's where you're going to find those higher prices. We also find extremely higher rents. So that's kind of what it's based on in those areas.
Yeah, so what about like your Barberton and the other areas around there? Are they around the same or?
Yeah, so Barberton, you could probably be anywhere from like 120 up to like 180, depending on the size of the house. So in Barberton, you got a lot of 1,000 square foot houses. There are some 15 and 16, 100 square feet houses that'll demand a little more rent when you're in that 5 bedroom and they're in a little nicer area. So those will be the higher ones there. I think the getting towards the top of Barberton and the rental areas at that 180 to 160, where those are your 4 or 5 bedroom homes that will get larger rents. I
Now
don't.
are most of them getting around 1% of the value in rent, or kind of what are people seeing there?
Yeah, around there. It's a little different in some of the markets around Northeast Ohio. The taxes are a lot lower, and the insurance is a little lower because of the property values and stuff like that. So it's not necessarily 1%, but it's I think it works out that way when you factor in all the other items, not just it's great to say, hey, I get 1% of rent, but then if your taxes are through the roof, is it comparable to 1% here in Ohio or not? So that makes a big difference.
Absolutely. And do you know much about the how landlord friendly is the area?
Landlord friendly, I would say Summit County is more landlord friendly than Cuyahoga County. So it's one of the reasons I like to buy in Summit County because, if you need to do an eviction or whatever it might be, you can get into the courts pretty quickly, especially even in like the smaller suburbs like Barberton, Rittman. Like there's not a ton of wait time, and it's usually pretty straightforward cases. Like, hey, here's the lease. They haven't paid.
Yeah.
Give
Well,
me
I
the
mean,
key.
90% home occupancy. You don't have many people there for evictions.
No. So I mean, it's one of those things that we had to do an eviction. Oh, a month ago we filed it. 15 days later, she was out. It was, it was, outside of losing that month of rent, and then you got to re-rent it. It was very minimal to the client that we were managing the property for, because obviously we kept the security deposit for him and stuff like
Yeah.
that. So, I mean, she was out. I want to say we went to court, and it was like 3 days later she was gone. That was they're like, if you get out in 3 days, we won't put it on your record, So she was like, okay. In the house, and one of the stipulations that the house had to be in good condition. And outside of a little bit of painting over where she patched for us, it was, pretty rent ready. I mean, a couple $100 and we were ready to roll.
Nice. Now, what about the area for you? Kind of what, I mean, kept you in? It sounds like you're from the area. What kept you in the area, and why do you think it's like just a place that it's worth investing in?
I grew up here, so I feel like I know it like the back of my hand. You can name streets off, and I'll be like, okay, yes, I know they're at. I can right away articulate where I am and figure out if it's something I want to buy just by giving me a purchase price and telling me what street you're on. I can be like, okay, I might be able to swing that. I guess just the connections you make, and I grew up here. I ended up coming back to Akron University and graduated from Akron after playing a few years of college football elsewhere. And just like I said, I bought a duplex in Lakewood and house hacked it, and I bought another one same way. And just kept acquiring properties, and then eventually doing flips, and going from there.
Now, if someone's going into the market and let's say they're looking around, where would you suggest avoiding when it comes to the area?
I'm guessing other cities or places are like this too. It's kind of pocketed. just by, railroad track dimensions or bodies of water or whatever. There's pockets of areas I just won't buy in. That's not saying there's not money to be made there. Obviously, things might be cheaper. In those rough areas, your ROI is a little higher, but your risk is a little greater. So I avoid them. I avoid East Cleveland. I won't drive there for anything. I won't buy a house there. I won't look at a house there. I won't go there. That's just somewhere I stay out of. There are some east side suburbs that I'll go into. The toughest thing about the east side of Cleveland is it's just hard to get to anywhere a lot of times. Just the way the highways are cut up. You're driving through side streets and the roads are in terrible condition, like craters in the street. And don't get me wrong, roads in Northeast Ohio get beat up by the plow trucks, the salt, whatever it might be, but they're excessively poorly maintained. So getting a flat tire in that area is not ideal for anyone's situation. So I try to avoid running into those areas.
All right. Well, let's go ahead and take a look at one of these properties. And if you're listening on the podcast, we will try our best to tell you what's going on. Now, this is one you sent me. And as people can see, this is what I saw on Google Street View. As you can tell, you get a very clear view of the house there, I would say. But they did some did their magic. And hey, look at that. There's actually at the property. So how much, what size is this? What size and price are you looking
it's
at?
A little over 1,000 square feet. It's a 2 bedrooms up, 1 bedroom down, bathroom on the first floor, bungalow type of home. It has a nice large garage. It's long, I guess you'd say. So it's 2 cars long. So a lot of times you won't get that at a rental property. A lot of garages have been removed, but it was in good shape. It was made with bricks. It was, no rotting wood or anything like that. Yeah.
And about how much is this property?
This one actually closed for $131,500.
Okay. 131.5. So if anybody is thinking now, I personally only buy turnkey or new construction, and this next part, the next one is kind of why. It's a good thing. This is what they walked into day one, I assume, whenever you acquired the property.
Yeah, this one was actually owner occupied.
Oh wow.
Yeah. So I felt kind of weird. Like I walked through the day after, and she moved out, and it was just like left like photos of her kids, family albums, like just left everything. So this is kind of what we walked into. Yeah. Always a lot of cat odor and animal odor in houses, I feel like.
Yeah. And it's it's a pretty rough shape, some interesting wall colors, it appears.
Yeah.
Some pretty rundown flooring.
Special.
Just a bit of a rough shape, and this is something I don't want to deal with, so I appreciate people like you who do deal with this. Looking at one, we have here the original kitchen. Looks like some of the cabinets are basically falling off the shelves. You've got pretty rough, and then you got this is the finished thing. Tell us a little bit about what you did here in the kitchen.
So there really wasn't an area to put a table or to sit down and eat when you had that L style. So what we did was we eliminated the L and just made it straight across. We thought that helped open it up so you can put like a little table in there so you could eat with your family. It's probably going to be a family that moves in, maybe the parents and a kid or two, so you're going to have 3 or 4 people living in this house typically. So you needed somewhere to eat because all you had was a living room that was by the front door. It was pretty decent size though, but this kind of helped open it up, so it made it a little more user-friendly. Obviously, all new cabinets, new countertop, new sink, new faucet, new floors, new paint, drywall, some places, just had to bring it up back to life.
Yeah. And this is the upstairs bedroom, I assume, or one of them.
There's 2 of them.
Yeah. And then there's the after, which you can actually get sunlight in the room, and lightened it up a little bit. Talk a little bit about what was done here.
So there wasn't a ceiling light, and that was kind of common in the 50s. They would just have like a lamp plugged into an outlet. So we put lights in on the ceiling so that you could walk into your room and turn on the light instead of walking into your room and then fumbling around for the light on the end table or nightstand or whatever. It just made it a little more user friendly, which, trying to take away those pain points for tenants is always something that helps keep them in your property.
Yeah. Now, what's kind of common are when you're looking at places in the Akron metropolitan, like is it dishwasher common? Kind of what utilities are people expecting when they come into properties?
So what we've been doing within the area is no dishwashers, maintenance headache, just like the air conditioner. The air conditioner, what happens with the air conditioner? The tenant leaves it at like 60. It drops down to 50 one night, and then it freezes the lines up, and you got a busted AC. That's just what happens. And then all of a sudden, you're replacing your AC, and it costs you $4 or $5 grand. And it's a brand new AC. They froze the lines up and burned it up because they didn't turn down the AC when it was cold outside. So, does it happen a lot? No, but does it happen? Yes. So a lot of times we just remove the ACs. They just end up being more of a headache and a liability cost-wise down the road. So dishwashers aren't super common in the rental properties, so we take those out too because they don't clean. Let's say the tenant doesn't clean the plate, it starts backing up, and then all of a sudden you're getting a backup coming out of the dishwasher, right? Or you'll get a call, there's water sitting in my dishwasher, but the whole bottom's covered in food. Of course, nothing's draining, right? So, and that, that's one of those things. It's, we don't want to make maintenance calls. You don't want maintenance calls. So I try to eliminate those things that might be a maintenance call is the goal when I'm doing this. So anytime there's like old lines, replace them with PEX. PEX are less likely to freeze and burst. Make sure all the drain lines are working correctly pre-tenant moving in. So that always happens in the home inspection. I always recommend get a home inspection. Rent to Retirement has found great inspectors that have done many property inspections for clients as well as, other people outside of Rent to Retirement. So I always recommend using one of the preferred vendors. It's just knowing that you're getting someone that does their job. I think it's important. And there's, they'll send the list out, Rent to Retire does, and, I'll give you my feedback about, which inspector does what better, depending on what you're looking for. One person takes a ton of photos, one person takes a few photos. One's better at, detailing how to fix something if something is broken. And that's the biggest thing to me. If he does find a safety issue or there is a immediate that needs fixed, if I don't know what the problem is, the person can explain to me what needs to be done and we'll get it done. There's always something, it comes up on a report. They're 1950s and 1900s houses. There's gonna be something missed, and it's not a new build. Yes, it's been rehabbed, and
I've bought new builds and the inspections still don't come back clean or redo. I mean, there's so many things that go into rehabbing or building a house that, like you were saying, something's going to get missed. I mean, it's, so many moving parts.
Yeah. So if there's anything that, is blatantly missed, we'll make sure it gets done or anything that's a safety concern. But you got to remember the major focus here is major expenses, so that's we try to eliminate all the could be major issues.
Yeah. And now is it common for like with your rehabs, are you talking carpet, vinyl planking, and what do you do there usually?
So we carpet everywhere except for the bathroom and the kitchen.
Okay.
That's pretty standard.
Yeah. All right.
Area.
And so I'm assuming these two lovely pictures filled with boxes thrown all over the place and tubs, and I think that's a hot water heater is the 2-car garage.
Yeah, so it's 2 cars deep, cleaned out, painted on the outside, new roof.
Looks a little better there.
Yeah. We left some of the shelving in there just because it's storage area for tenants, so we left it. You can see the new hot water tank. You can't see the new furnace because it's hiding behind the chimney, but there's a new furnace there, new hot water tank.
Yeah. All right. And let's see. I think this is the entryway and the bathroom, I believe.
Yeah, so that's the entryway from the driveway, and then the bathroom was kind of an interesting one. And I don't know if everyone does this when they rehab, but I always make sure. Everyone's seen those homes that have like the window sitting right in the middle of the shower, right?
Yep.
Yeah, everyone's seen them because back in the day you had a bath, you didn't have a shower there, right? But so what happens? You shower, water gets on the windowsill. What happens to the wood, Adam? It gets
Not
rotted.
good.
Yeah, it's not good. So eventually you're going to get a maintenance call with the window rotting out, or there's going to be some other type of issue. So actually, right in the middle of that tub surround, there was a window. We boarded it up, insulated it on the outside, put new siding. It's not a perfect match because the siding's 10 years old or something like that. It's not going to be identical, but it's a beige that was that color. So when you pull the siding off, we looked at it and said, hey, it's sandstone beige. So we got sandstone beige and it's super close. But to save some long-term maintenance down the road is why I do it. So
yeah, that's a good idea.
yeah.
Yeah. All right. And so those were the photos I chose for this one. It looks like a nice rehab. So how many rehabs are you doing a year on average?
Well, I was doing stuff to buy and hold, but I mean, I'm looking at my dry erase board right now. I think there's 13 houses up there, and that's between either they're already under contract being sold to rent to retire customers, or they're in the process of closing here shortly. The goal is to get up to 10 a month purchases. So have 10 in rehab, have 10 being sold, and have 10 in the process of closing. So that's the goal, to do about 100 to 120 rehabs in the next 12 months.
Nice. Very nice. And that's with the labor shortage, I'm impressed you've got the crews to do it. Must be a nice place to work.
Yeah, I you got to make sure that you treat your workers right, and make sure that if they need something, that if they call me like, hey, we're in the middle of this, can you run and go get this? I have a material runner that will go, so they don't have to leave, because when you leave the job, you're basically losing an hour to 2 hours. By the time you get to Home Depot, get what you need, check out. Everyone's been there. Walking Home Depot, it's an instant hour. It's like time warp, So we do those things. We try to plan ahead and make sure we have, hey, what are you going to need the next week here at the house that's going to go in? Get the list. Day one, it's there. All right, so Thursday's coming up that week. What are we going to need in the next 7 to 10 days? And then just start getting those materials so they're not waiting on anything. And that's huge with windows right now. We bought the windows a week before we even closed on the house, and I'm pretty sure the rehab's going to be done before they come in. It is what it is. We didn't buy every window in the house. We just replaced the ones that weren't working or functioning. So it's one of those things where, like, hey, these windows are in order. Your property's done minus the windows. And you don't want to have your appraisal before the windows come in because, well, that adds value,
Yeah.
So that'll be one of those bridges we got to cross here with one of our buyers. But I've kind of already alluded to the idea that the windows might not be in. So
he's supply chain, right?
Yeah, he's aware that, hey, it's it takes 6 to 8 weeks if you're lucky on windows. If you get anything custom or whatever, it's longer. But we're hoping it's 6 weeks and we finish the rehab and the windows arrive. We typically try to be about 4 weeks in a rehab, and that's from the day of demo until rent ready, like can start showing the property. So it's kind of our timeline we like to stick to. Obviously, everything varies on size of house and condition of house and things like that. So, if you buy we have a 2,000 square foot plus house we're doing that, is in need of massive renovations. It's going to take a little longer,
Yeah.
We also ordered 30 windows for that one. So
you've got longer.
Yeah. So, they're like, hey, you're still a couple weeks out. I'm like, that's fine, but we'll have everything painted ready. So the windows will be the last thing. It's probably not the normal way to do it, but it's the only way to do it right now.
Yeah, that's the new normal.
Right. It makes it a little easier when you're painting. You don't have to worry about hitting the windows if you're spraying, or, because we did an exterior paint on this one as well. So that made it a little bit nicer for the painters. They were like, if you're going to change them, there's no point in taping them off. And I said, there's no point in taping them. They're all gone.
Yeah.
So they enjoyed that. So it was,
man, we should do this more often.
Yeah. They had the scaffolding out there, walking around, painting, all that stuff. So it's a big 3-story house, those old colonials.
Nice. All right. Yeah. Well, is there anything else you think investors should know about either the current market over there or investing or anything?
No, I think the best thing you got to do is just dive in if you haven't done one yet and get your feet wet. That's the only way you're going to learn. That's the only way you're going to start feeling comfortable with things. And it's just by doing it. You can look at deals all day. You can analyze until you're blue in the face. I know you've probably done it yourself, Adam. I've done it where I've overanalyzed the deal and just be like, it's a good deal.
No, never.
So, yeah.
All right. Well, Steve, thank you so much for joining us. Everybody else, go to renttoretirement.com. You can see all of the inventory we have there, including Steve's. You can also find any of our investment counselors, fill out a form, hear back from the investment counselors, set up a call with them. Happy to walk you through, coach you with anything you need. So Steve, once again, thank you so much for joining us today, and everybody else, we'll see you on the next episode.
Thanks for watching the Rent to Retirement YouTube channel. Check out some of our other videos, like this one, or this one here.